Almost a full year ago, I made a video about possibly the biggest piece of shit dumpster fire manga I have ever had the displeasure to lay my eyes upon. Rent-A-Girlfriend managed to piss off my monk-like self so much, I made a video absolutely trashing it and voluntarily shared that video on the internet for everyone to see. Now, we all know that sharing your opinion on the internet is one of the stupidest things someone can do in 2024. But I never claimed I was a smart man, so I will be trashing this pile of garbage once again. Welcome everyone to, yep, Rent-A-Girlfriend still fucking sucks. So to start off with a short recap of the previous video, at the time of the previous video the manga was at about chapter 280, with Kazuya being the biggest loser self-insert a mangaka has ever dared to put on paper. My main complaints I voiced about the manga were that Kazuya was just a complete loser cuck. And I get that he is written to be the insecure protagonist and stuff, but come on now, there are limits to how much of a cuck you can be. He makes idubs look like a real man. Mizuhara being a completely indecisive mess is also something that just pissed me off to no end. It's always the same cycle of, oh my god, Kazuya is so weird, to, oh my god, Kazuya is actually kinda cute, to, oh my god, maybe I like him, to, that wouldn't be professional of me as a rental girlfriend, to, oh my god, Kazuya is so weird, etc. This woman is incapable of making a decision, and it is just the worst thing to have to read chapter after chapter after chapter. There was also the fact that the character written to be kind of annoying was less annoying than the actual main character. Now, I'm not that good at math, but even I can see that that does not add up in the slightest. Currently, the manga has advanced an additional 40 chapters, and I can proudly say that the story has in fact not progressed in the slightest since last year. The only things that happened were that Kazuya became homeless, deserved, moves in with Mizuhara, and still manages to make almost no progress whilst living in the same house as his basically like love interest, and well... The biggest thing that has happened since is that Mizuhara agreed to an actual regular non-rental date with this absolute cuck. Which sounds like progress, but if we remember that this is in like chapter 314, all excitement just leaves the room. We also all just know this is gonna turn out to be the trigger for Kazuya to magically lose all his knowledge about this girl he has basically been stalking for 300 chapters and just regress into the insecure cock we know him as. And that was always, still is, and will always be the biggest problem with this manga. The author just absolutely refuses to make any meaningful progress whatsoever. Kazuya will always remain as this ginormous cock of a man-child because the author has some sort of fetish to deal this man the worst possible hands. There was this comment on the previous Rent-A-Girlfriend video that said the author would never let Kazuya have his romance with Mizuhara because he wants her for himself. And whilst that sounds absolutely crazy, I actually believe it. Miyajima Reiji is so addicted to the character of Mizuhara that he took a life-size Mizuhara figure on a date. An actual real-life date. He actually went outside with a life-size anime figure into a populated area. That already shows he is either suffering from late-stage dementia or he is just down bad terribly. The theory that he has a massive cuckold fetish really just starts to make sense the more you look into the man. He can't cuckold another man in real life because he would get his ass beat, let's be honest here, just look at the guy. So he took it to the next level and created a fictional self-insert of himself in the form of Kazuya and made him fall in love with a beautiful girl. Only to make sure Kazuya never gets his girl so he can cuck him in his mind as he takes a life-size figure of Kazuya's love interest on a date. But he can't get enough of a hit by just cucking his self-insert character in his own manga. He has to lay his grubby little hands on these side characters too. For starters, it wasn't enough for he himself to just cuck his own self-interest. He had to make him get dumped by his ex-girlfriend Mami only for her to start cucking him straight after. You just know the scenes of Kazuya beating that meat to the thought of his ex getting raw dogged by Netorare Man was something straight from his own memories. That was just a massive self-report he was trying to pass off as progression. Man, he doesn't even know what that word means. Then there is poor Ruka. This dude wrote a perfect fit for Kazuya who actually likes him and suits him very well to boot. Only for Kazuya to completely cuck her because he has an unhealthy obsession with a bona fide hooker. The manga could have honestly ended at like chapter 40 with Kazuya realizing there is this perfectly nice attractive girl who actually likes him. They could have just started dating and he could have uninstalled the rental app and just see Mizuhara as a friend, and that would be it. I am dead serious when I say that this ending would be accepted by by the community and even celebrated by them if they knew what kind of train wreck was heading their way. Even if you don't think Ruka is a good character, you have to admit that this ending would be better than the shit we have to read now. But aside from Ruka, this man's greatest sin has yet to be discussed. Why the fuck did Sumi not get more screen time, huh? I specifically stated that this precious little cinnamon roll here was the only redeeming factor about this entire train wreck of a manga. But as if Miyajima Reiji just heard me through time and space, he decides to give the best girl in his entire series the least possible amount of screen time. Even Mami, the grudged out bitch of an ex, gets more screen time than Sumi. This I cannot and will not forgive, Reiji. I challenge you to a shadow game because I can't let this go on. Someone needs to stop your ass, and I am feeling like the main character today, baby. Grab your deck, grab your dual disc, and get your game on, old man. It's party time. But Rent-A-Girlfriend is probably one of the most clowned upon manga of our modern time, and let's all admit it, for good reasons. It is just such a terrible shame because it started off as a pretty interesting setup. I will be the first to admit that I actually enjoyed Rent-A-Girlfriend when it was, first starting its release. I picked it up at like chapter 22, I believe. So I've been a pretty long time reader who definitely started out as an actual fan of the manga. But as the manga got to chapter 50 with no development, then chapter 100, then 150, then 200, etc, etc. My excitement and support for the series just slowly started to turn into annoyance and just utter disdain. Where I started reading the series and actually enjoying it, I now only read it out of a strange feeling of obligation to myself. Because I have been reading it for so long, I feel like I somehow owe it to myself to see how bad it will actually get in the future, to kind of like prove I'm right, that it was always shit, like that it turned to shit. Like I want to prove that I'm right. I am literally reading this manga out of sheer spite, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. You can check out the comments on any chapter beyond like chapter 50 or something, and 90% of the people there are just trashing on Miyajima Reiji so hard it's just sad. The vast majority of his readers are just haters at this point. There have even been cases where quote-unquote fans threatened him over his storytelling. And let me be very clear here, I think the man sucks at telling a story, I think he sucks at creating characters, and I definitely believe he has some screws loose. But he has not done anything to warrant death threats or threats of any kind over a damn manga. Anyone who takes a manga seriously enough to threaten the author because they don't like the way that the author takes the story is just a sad loser, let's be honest. If you really hate it that much, just make a video ranting about it like me, or just post a mean comment on the latest chapters. Just don't be a dick who threatens people over drawings they didn't like. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Rent-A-Girlfriend sucks, it is bad, it is horrible, I don't believe it will ever become good again. So thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, it really does mean a lot more to me than you might think. Like the video if you liked it and comment your opinion down below so we can discuss this dumpster fire together. Subscribe if you haven't already so you never miss another video, and I will see you all again in the next one. Peace out.